More over here at HTM Sports. How is everybody doing this fine evening, man? So we all seen the news. We all pay attention to social media and ESPN and all that other stuff. We have seen that Bobby Wagner, future Hall of Fame linebacker, has become a free agent. Right? We seen that he's on the open market, and the moment that he got released, Cowboy Twitter went crazy. Right? There's a bunch of people on there talking about we need him, need to add him, how he would fit, and I'm one of them. I ain't gonna lie, I am one of them. I totally agree. The Dallas Cowboys should go out their way and try and expeditiously add Bobby Wagner to our defense. I'm going to, of course, I'm the numbers guy. I'm going to give you numbers on the subject. I'm going to give my opinion, right, and we'll just go from there. But man, please everybody, just to start, please go ahead, like, share, subscribe to content. It'll be greatly appreciated. Hey, what's up, C. Burleson? What's up with your man, Jazz Jeff? What's up with your man? I appreciate y'all for taking time out to tap in with me. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this Bobby Wagner news, man. So I always like going in order. A lot of people are working on the draft. I've been focused more on free agency, right? I was talking about possibly adding Deron Payne to this defense, right? So, you know, and he's somebody that they said now probably gonna get the franchise tag, so he's probably gonna be off the board for us. So now with Bobby Wagner being a full outright, Willie Stovall, what's up with you? Yeah, so with Bobby Wagner now being a full outright free agent, like he should be the big offseason signing. People are going to say, that he's not worth the money he might demand. They're going to say things about his age and so on and so forth. None of that actually even matters, right? Because we seen Tom Brady play and was a top 10, top 5 quarterback well into his 40s. Bobby Wagner is still one of the best linebackers in all of the National Football League. Like, regardless of his age, regardless of the wear and tear of his body. Double R, what's up with you, man? I appreciate you tapping in. Regardless of all that, like, Bobby Wagner is still one of the best linebackers in the National Football League. Right? And listen, signing Bobby Wagner, he would automatically be your best linebacker on this team. He is better right now at 32 years old, than Leighton Vander is right now. Joshua Fisher, what's up with you? And when you think about the money, Leighton Vander Esch's franchise tag is $20 million. Right? If we were to tag Leighton Vander Esch, his tag is $20 million. He is not a $20 million player. And, he may not be a 18, 19, $17 million a year player. If we are willing to pay Leighton Vander Esch that kind of money to retain him, because that might be what it takes, I will much rather give that money to Bobby Wagner. And I actually was out here in these Twitter streets and out here in these Facebook streets, and people were talking like Leighton Vander Esch is a better player than Bobby Wagner is right now. And that's just not true, right? The Rams as an organization had a bad season. Bobby Wagner did not have a bad season. Like, there's a total misconception. Bobby Wagner was a dog, and he still played like Bobby Wagner this season, right? So Bobby Wagner this season had 140 total tackles, right? He had 140 total tackles. Played all 17 games, which Leighton Vander Esch did not. So even though he's older, Bobby Wagner stayed healthier. He played in all 17 games. And listen, I'm up here looking at it. Bobby Wagner hasn't missed a game since 2018. He played all the games in 2019. He played all the games in 2020. He played 16 games in 2021. I think the only game he missed was for rest. And then this year he played all 17 games. So, the issue with Leighton Vander Esch is he's a guy, LV has to take a team friendly. We have been waiting for him to come around. Well, see, this is the thing. I don't think he will. He already played on a team friendly deal this year. I think Leighton Vander Esch, the time for him to get his money is now. It's now or never for LVE, honestly. And he played well enough where a team might give him some money. So, LVE might not be back in Dallas. And that's fine. Because the money that they are willing to pay LVE, I would see if Bobby Wagner would take it. Cause listen, Bobby Wagner this is blowing people's mind, but Bobby Wagner deal last year was only $10 million a year annually. He signed for 5 years, $50 million, if I'm not mistaken. Right? That is chump change. That is not no real money. We were willing to pay a damn running back $10 million a year, right? We're talking about tagging Tony Pollard and giving him 10 point something $1 million a year. We tagged Dalton Schultz, a tight end, and gave him over $10 million a year. You mean to tell me Bobby Wagner, is it worth $10 million a year or 12 or $13 million a year? I would definitely go out and get Bobby Wagner. Like, listen, say Bobby Wagner made an All-Pro team this season, right? He made an All-Pro team this season. So, like he is still one of the best linebackers in the National Football League. He had 140 total tackles, 81 solo tackles, 6 sacks, right? This is a guy that's not even a real pass rusher. He had 6 sacks, right? 2 interceptions, multiple pass deflections. Bobby Wagner was on his shit. 10 tackles for loss. Like, listen, 10 quarterback hits. And look, Bobby Wagner has made an All-Pro team, every year since 2014. Right, from 2014 on, he has been a first team All-Pro or a second team All-Pro. So, that counts for something. That is consistency. That is consistently being a top-notch linebacker in the National Football League for the past, decade. And, that is hard to come by. That's hard to duplicate. And don't get me wrong, like LVE, down the stretch, he played much better football. He played some of the best football of his careers, since his rookie season when he made his All-Pro selection. But there is no question that Bobby Wagner is a better linebacker. There is no question that Bobby Wagner has a better track record of staying healthy. There's no question that Bobby Wagner has a better track record for production. So if he is available, and think about the ties that he has with your current offensive coordinator. Like Dan Quinn, helped Bobby Wagner a lot immensely in his time, in Seattle. They have a good rapport. They have a bunch of mutual respect between the two. I could see him coming in and taking an immediate leadership role in this defense, playing a true middle linebacker position, something that we have not really had. Because listen, Leighton Vander Esch played the middle linebacker position for us last year, and Leighton Vander Esch is really an outside linebacker by trade. He's a weak side linebacker. And, that's why I wasn't so hard on LVE when he was struggling earlier in the season. He was playing out of position, so I graded him on a curve. But, Bobby is a true middle linebacker. So, I trust him manning the middle of the defense, getting guys lined up, calling the audibles. He's a very cerebral player, right? He's been in the league over a decade. There is not a lot of offensive sets and play design that he has not seen. Played in multiple Super Bowls. Is a Super Bowl champion. So, you got to love the prospect of adding a guy of his caliber to your team. And it would take nothing but Jerry Jones opening up his checkbook. Right? It would take no other assets. Like all these other linebackers you can get to upgrade over LVE, you would have to trade for. Right? So, so I would do it. I would do it in a heartbeat. This is not even rocket science. And the folks that are saying these things about LVE, that he's a better linebacker, you're homers. Like, you don't pay attention to the things around the league. You hear these random talking heads talk about players, and you don't do the research for yourself. Right? I'm not an NFL scout. I'm not paid by ESPN. I'm not an analyst or nothing. But, at my disposal, I have this thing called Google. I have the ability to track down advanced stats because it's there for the public eye. And we have all 22 film that is available. There's a small monthly subscription fee. You can watch all 22 film. You can pull up advanced stats. You can know the same things that these guys that are paid know. Right? And you can form your own opinions on things. You ain't got to take my word for it. Right? As a matter of fact, that's what I really suggest most people to do. You Henny the numbers guy. Yeah, man, I'm a numbers guy. But everybody can be the numbers guy because all that information is out there in the stratosphere, right? You can go look all this stuff up and find the stuff. It might take some time to find what you're looking for, but it's all there at the press of a button. Because we live in this technology age, we can find most of everything on the internet, right? So like, all of us have the ability to look at advanced stats. We ain't got to take the word of a Stephen A. Smith or a Skip Bayless or a Shannon Sharp or anybody like that. We can do our own research and watch our own film and come up with our own opinions on the matters. We don't really need nobody, right? Now it's easier, right? But sometimes people aren't always talking from aren't talking from the heart. They ain't being transparent. Sometimes guys in these positions have their own ulterior motives about what they report on, what they say, yada yada. So I'm not sure, you know, why people were pushing that narrative that Bobby Wagner was having a down season, because he was still. That's why we watch you, man. I respect you for that. Oh yeah, man. I appreciate the love for that, man. Yeah, I try to be very objective when I come out here, and I even admit when I'm wrong, because I was wrong as hell about Anthony Barr, right? Because before the last season started, I wrote a whole article about why Anthony Barr would take our defense to the next level, about the stats, about the intangibles, all these other things. And he was a total letdown this season, right? So I was completely wrong about Anthony Barr, right? But I feel more confident about Bobby Wagner because he does not have the injury history of Anthony Barr, right? He has a higher and more consistent prime than he did, because in the prime of his career, Bobby Wagner, was considered the best linebacker in football, and honestly, he made the second team All Pro. So like the 50 voters that voted for MVP, they think he was the second best linebacker in the National Football League this year. Is Wagner in the Cowboys budget though? Yes, he is. Because honestly, they kind of like he honestly could sign him because he was just playing for only $10 million a year, right? He only played for $10 million a year. The contract he signed was 5 years, $50 million. That what he signed with the Los Angeles Rams. Matter of fact, let me double check that just in case. That sounded about right. Yeah. So his contract was 5 years, $50 million. He had a $5 million signing bonus, and he had $20 million guaranteed. Right. So that's the contract that he signed to play for the Los Angeles Rams. That came out to about $10 million a year, and actually, his cap hit last year. Well, his cap hit last year in 2022 was only $2.5 million. Right, he got $1 million signing bonus. I guess he had a base salary of $1.5 million. So his cap hit was only $2.5 million a year, even though the salary itself, says $10 million a year. So he's in the budget range of somebody as cheap, as Stephen Jones. They just got to see if they want to get him. Hey, we talked about this earlier. Hey man, that boy gonna clutch his purse. He gonna clutch his purse. Like what? No. But I think that you know what? I do think though this might be a move that he could make because it's affordable. It is affordable. So he likes budget shopping, and little Bobby Wagner is going to be 33 years old. So that might play a part in it, right? He may not be able to get that $20 million somewhere to play, because remember he just was only playing for $10 million a year. So, but my mind state is if you're willing to pay a tight end over $10 million a year on a 1-year contract, you should sign Bobby Wagner for like $12 million a year. Give him a 3-year, $36 million a year contract, and keep him the rest of his career. Because Bobby Wagner only probably has like 3-4 years left in the National Football League. Right, he only has a couple years left anyway, so sign him the rest of his career. He was just a top linebacker this year. So in between now and next year, he's not gonna fall off a cliff. He shouldn't anyway. We have some of the best medical staffs in the National Football League here in Dallas, and he doesn't have an injury history at all. So I'm pretty sure like we can keep Bobby Wagner, and he could be a productive player for the next 3 to 4 seasons. Under these circumstances, and I do believe that he's inside of Stephen Jones, price range. The man cheap as hell. Matter of fact, I was actually reading something where the Dallas Cowboys were like second in total money spent over the last couple of years. And like we're the second cheapest team in terms of contracts, right? So that fits the bill. That fits the mold for what the boys are talking about. Yep. So I think it would work. You know, it's smart football, so I don't know if the Dallas Cowboys are going to do that. They don't have the best track record of doing the smart, no nonsense football stuff. Because if they were that kind of front office, they would not have let Amari Cooper walk for a fifth round pick and not address the wide receiver position after that. Right? If they were a smart football, organization, they would not have bidded against themselves in the Dak Prescott contract. Because remember, theoretically, Dak Prescott could have signed for about $28 to $30 million a year when the time came. Instead, they waited to give Dak Prescott a contract until after the market reset itself 2 times, right? So they have a track record of not doing the wise football decision thing. So I don't know if they actually make the move, but it's the right move to make. And since we're on the subject, we do need better middle linebacker play. If they do not go get Bobby Wagner, I'm just have to see if there's any other linebackers worth trying to get. Deion Jones is a free agent. I would like him. Devin Bush, I believe, is going to be a free agent. So like there are some pretty good interior linebackers. Tremaine Evans might hit the open market if they can't get a contract worked out. Calvin Noor is a possibility. So like there are guys that are pretty decent middle linebackers that will be coming available in free agency. But my preference is always going to be Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner, like I said, like none of these other guys are current All Pros, right? There's not a lot of instances when an All Pro player that's still producing at an All Pro level is going to become, available on the open market. Action Pal, yeah, we need that boy in a Dallas Cowboy jersey ASAP. I know, yeah. Devin Bush market value is like $3 million. So I think, and listen, I think they really do need to address the middle linebacker position. Bobby Wagner would be the best bet. Yeah, they don't need to bring Anthony Barr back. Like for what Anthony Barr gave you, you can get that from DeMonte Clark because you really got that from DeMonte Clark this season. And DeMonte Clark did not have an off season of prep work, right? He didn't spend his off season training to become a better football player. He spent his off season training to walk again after having back surgery, right? He was rehabbing from back surgery. We still need an outside linebacker. This is the thing. I probably would let DeMonte Clark play outside linebacker for us. So I think he's more suited for that. He's athletic. He can read. He can react. He can move great in open space. But I don't want him trying to, diagnose what the offense is doing and giving play calls and things like that. Yeah, he had back surgery. It was like this surgery for his back. It might have been higher up on his back, but it was considered back surgery. Tavis agreed, and he took some bad ankles. He's too slow. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with that. But that's the pipe dream. I know how the Dallas Cowboys front office works, but now that I think about it, it's more and more realistic when I think about it now. Because like looking at his contract, he wasn't making top tier money any damn way, right? Making $10 million a year. That's why they were able to cut him. Like the dead money on that contract was only $7.5 million this year, right? So that was the dead money on that. So they were able to get out from under that contract. And listen, going to the right situation, he might play for under $10 million. He might listen. We made it much further than the Rams did, right? We won a World Playoff game. We won 12 games. He'll be going to a situation that's already set up to win. He'll be playing alongside other All-Pro players because Trayvon Diggs is still here. Michael Parsons is still here. People be forgetting about it, but Marcus Lawrence did make an All-Pro team at one point. So Joshua Fisher, I appreciate the compliment, man. I tried to be very thorough and very precise with the stuff I be talking about. So I appreciate the compliment, man. But yeah, man. So I can see it happening now more and more that I actually looked at his contract. Because look, $10 million a year for an All-Pro linebacker is nothing. It's nothing, and he might even take a little bit less to play with Dan Quinn again. Like it might be his best chance to get back to a Super Bowl because the other teams, around the league already had their middle linebackers. The 49ers already have Fred Warner, right? So like, I think it makes sense. I think it makes perfectly good sense. So yeah, I'm going for it. I'm going for it. But hey, Keystone, you really enlightened me. You want to spend 10 million on Turner Pop tagging on though? No, listen. Oh, because me, West Coast and landlord had this conversation, right? Oh, I don't want anybody on this team to get franchise tag, right? Because it makes more sense cap wise. You're gonna have me dreaming about picking him up now. Pause. Hey man, hey, I'm gonna be dreaming about it too, man. I'm gonna be dreaming about it too. But but realistically, I don't want anybody getting the franchise tag. Not because I don't want the particular player, but just because of cap purposes. There's no way around, circumventing that cap hit. For the franchise tag, it's all guaranteed money up front, regardless of what happens. You owe that player that money. Dak Prescott got franchise tagged for $30+ million. Only played 5 games. They still paid him $30+ million, right? Against the cap. So I'm good on giving somebody the franchise tag because it's more economic to just go ahead and sign them to a long-term deal. You can spread out the cap hit. Because think about Dak. Think about Dak Prescott's contract right now, right? On paper, it says that Dak Prescott signed a 4-year, $160 million contract, averaging out to $40 million a year, right? But his cap hit the last 2 seasons were under $20 million a year, right? Like he only was charged $19 million against the cap this year, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why I want to go out and sign these guys to long-term deals. You can manipulate the cap on it way easier, right? So yeah, on paper, Dak Prescott is a $40 million a year quarterback. The past 2 seasons, he was making well under that, right? Matter of fact, let me pull up his contract, and I'll tell you the exact cap hits. I'll tell you the exact cap hits that he had these past couple seasons. All right. So Dak Prescott cap hit in 2021 was only $17.2 million. Dak Prescott's cap hit this year was only $19.7 million. Right? So your quarterback, even though it says on paper he was making $40 million a year, right? His cap hit was super team friendly these first 2 seasons. Now, with 2 years left on his contract, you can extend him again, lower the cap hit back down because he's due to make $49 million this year. But with an extension, you can move some of that dead money around. You can move some of that guaranteed money around. So now, if they extend Dak Prescott for like another 2 or 3 years, keep him on the team for 5 years, then his cap hit might be under $20 million again this year. It just depends on how they work the deal out. So I'm all for, retaining our guys with long-term contracts and lowering the cap hit, right? Because it doesn't really matter how much money a guy actually makes. The only thing that actually matters is the amount of money that's going against the cap, right? That's why I'm not too stressed about Ezekiel Elliott. Because even with a restructure, Ezekiel Elliott's gonna get his $16 million. But with a restructure, like Ezekiel Elliott is not gonna count $16 million against the cap. Like Ezekiel Elliott might count $7 or $8 million against the cap after they restructure his deal. Because I don't think they're gonna cut Zeke and let him walk. I don't believe they are. So I am all for long term deals, but I don't want to give any one player $13 million guaranteed for one season, right? Because we're already asking Dak to take an extension so we can clear cap space, right? We're already thinking about reworking Ezekiel Elliott's contract to clear some cap space. We're already thinking about cutting Tyron Smith, things like that, and we're trying to get rid of guys and do all this stuff to manipulate the cap to make more room. Why would I then turn around and give guys fully guaranteed 1 year contracts? That doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, but I want to keep Tony Pollard, right? Because listen, signing Tony Pollard to a 3 year $30 million a year deal is, or a 3 year $29 million a year deal, or whatever you sign him to, is completely different than the 1 year 10 point whatever $1 million tag, right? Because it's gonna say on paper you can make it $10 million a year, but the cap hit the first season might be $3 million or something. And I have all the room I need to go out and shop. I can go get me a Bobby Wagner. I can go get me a DJ Shark. Would you do 3 year $35 million for who? For Tony Pollard, or I would do 3 year $35 million for both. That's the same contract I'm gonna offer both of them, because it's respectable, and it can be, it's gonna be real cap friendly. Oh yeah, because I will offer I'll offer Tony Pollard 3 years, 30 to $32 million. 35 might be pushing it, but I offer Tony Pollard some good money. Because really, you just seen Aaron Jones take a little bit of a haircut. He was due to make $16 million a year. Instead of him ending up being a cap salary, he is going to play for $11 million this season. So with Aaron Jones' track record and his pedigree and the things that he's done in the league, if he is willing to play for $11 million a year, Tony Pollard, you should be willing to pay for $11 million a year. He's one of the best running backs in the National Football League. We look at you as one of the best running backs in the National Football League. So 3 years, $33 million a year, that is very respectable. Eastside Hero, I wonder when you're gonna show up, man. How you doing, kinfolk? This is our resident Cowboys hater and Texans fan. But hey, Eastside Hero be cool though, man. Eastside Hero, they be coming in talking this talk. Be cool people though. Clark is really out, our starting strong side linebacker. If you ask me, LVE and Devin Harper could rotate off the mic, and the wheel is questionable too. Yeah, because you know what? And truthfully, they are really high on Devin Harper, right? They're very high on Devin Harper, and they're very high on Clark, right? The guys that they see developing, that they drafted and brought in, that's really why I don't think Anthony Barr is going to be back. Like, they have those guys, and then they got one more year before they give up on Cox, right? So I think with the linebacking core they already have, I think that's why it makes sense for them to bring in a Bobby Wagner that can groom them and help them develop. Because Bobby Wagner is a savant when it comes to understanding how the offense is going to attack a defense. He's a very cerebral player, right? He understands the formations. He understands how offenses are going to attack the specific coverages that they're in. He knows how to get guys lined up, and he can do a little bit of everything for you. He's great in coverage. He's able to rush the passer if you ask him to. Right? He has 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, 140 tackles, 81 solo tackles, which is insane for a guy his age. So I feel like Bobby Wagner would be the perfect fit. But all 32 teams could really make this same content and say, and say the same thing, right? That Bobby Wagner would improve their defense because it's true. Like Bobby Wagner is still that good of a player. So I'm not saying anything groundbreaking or extravagant when I say that. Hey, Stephen White, what's up with you? Hallelujah, what's up with you, man? What's up with you? So yeah, I feel strongly about making this happen. I feel strongly about making this happen, and it's only right too though, because you should trust Dan Quinn, you know, to get the most out of Bobby Wagner. You already seen Dan Quinn with discount players, right? You already seen Dan Quinn with unproven guys, and he got them playing like all pro players, right? You saw Donovan Wilson being close to being out the league from not getting any playing time to evolving into a guy that's going to demand like $18 million just because he's in Dan Quinn's defense, right? You seen Ron Curse, who was a guy that couldn't get on the field in his other stops, is a starting safety in the league, one of the best safeties in the league right now. If he had a bigger name, if Ron Curse had a bigger name, he would have made an All Pro team in 2021. And the same thing with Donovan Wilson. If he had a bigger name, he could have made an All Pro team this past season. They've been playing that well, and no knock against them, but they're not Bobby Wagner. Matter of fact, adding Bobby Wagner is going to help those guys because they play so much big nickel. They're playing essentially linebacker in a lot of our sets. It will keep them healthier going throughout the season. So it doesn't. It's not even just a move that helps the linebacking core. It also helps those safeties. Because Dan Quinn plays a lot of big nickel. Right? There's plays where Ron Curse is technically the linebacker. There's plays where Donovan Wilson is technically the linebacker. I want all focus on line first. Payne would help everyone. Yeah, and you know what? Payne was one of the guys I wanted to target. The problem is they're already reporting that the Run Payne is probably gonna get franchise tag. So once he gets hit with the exclusive tag, then it's over with. So with Bobby Wagner being a full free agent right now, like that would be my go-to player to sign. If Deron Payne does not get franchise tagged, then we'll have a different conversation about that. But right now, the early reports are leaning towards him getting franchise tagged and remaining a Washington Commander for the 2023 football season. So there are some interior guys I want to add, right? Because I would like for us, yeah, like it makes sense for the Commandos to go ahead and tag him, because they and theoretically they should be in a better position this year. They got Eric Bieniemy as a play caller, right? They're going to be able to improve their offense this offseason. Maybe, right? So I don't think they would want to get rid of one of the key defensive players on their team. I think they were only like a game or two out of making the playoffs, maybe only one game out of making the playoffs. So they don't have to do too much to be competitive. So I don't think they'll break up the team just yet. I think they're gonna hold on to him and run it and try to run it back. But yeah, the run Payne would make life on our defensive front so much easier for all players involved. Because listen, LVE might look like Bobby Wagner with a big nasty like that in front of him. And he already said I want Tremaine Edmonds, but Bobby getting cut, he probably cheaper, probably $6 to $8 million range. Tell DQ call him now and get it done. I'll take Hargrave from Philly. They will tag him, Steven, if they were smart. Yeah, yeah. They and you know what? I think they will. They are gonna probably end up tagging him. I like Tremaine Edmonds too because he's a very big, long, rangy linebacker. He's like 6'5", long wingspan, runs like a 4.4 or 4.5, can move great from sideline to sideline, and he's an excellent run stuffer. Right, so I like Edmonds too, and he has a football pedigree. All of his brothers are in the league, and his daddy played, if I'm not mistaken. So I like guys with that kind of background, that kind of pedigree. He's been playing a lot of meaningful football, in his time in Buffalo. right? They always make the playoffs. They always have a pretty decent defense. Like he is one of the leaders on that front seven. So I would like him. I would like him. He's been to an AFC Championship game. Hey, Washington, please be foolish and let an All-Pro BT go. That would be super dumb, right? That would be super dumb. But crazier things have happened. Crazier things have happened. But I I just don't see it happening this time around. Like they're incompetent, but I don't think they're that incompetent. I don't think they're that incompetent where they would let that man walk. If they do though, I'll gladly welcome him in Dallas with open arms. And my boy landlord love him because he's from Alabama, right? He played at Bama. He's seen this man develop. So landlord real high on him. He got landlord step of approval. So if landlord likes you, I trust that because he wasn't high on Jalen Hurts, and that finally came true in the Super Bowl. He said that he would give him one, and he did. Ramen noodles on the stove in the yard, bird nuggets in the oven. Thank you, Lord. So yeah, but yeah. So let's see who else is out there at linebacker? Because we talked about Devin Bush, and really, man, really when we're talking about it, none of these linebackers are going to get the kind of money that where Stephen Jones just clams up. Right. When we talk about Devin Bush, like that's a very reasonable contract. Bobby Wagner is a very reasonable contract. Like we're not asking him to go out and get Stephon Diggs. Right. We're not asking him to go out and get a $20 million wide receiver. We're asking him to go out here and get a $10 million middle linebacker. Or less. Like we just need an improvement over Leighton Vander Esch. And I'm not saying that Leighton Vander Esch is a bad linebacker. But he was playing out of position. We need a true middle linebacker. Yeah, Levante David is hard too. I gotta check on Levante David's health. Like if Levante David is healthy, I'll take him. I'll take him. Because if I'm not mistaken, the man is like in the 1300 tackle club or something crazy like that. He's one of the more prolific linebackers. In the past 20 years. He just wasn't getting no love early in his career because the Bucks were sorry as hell. But like he's a real good linebacker. Now it's just a matter of if he can stay healthy. It doesn't matter if he can stay healthy. So yeah, I like him. I like him a lot. Now who else? And you know what? I'm not worried about age or injury, right? Because Levante David, he's 33. Bobby Wagner's 32. Like it doesn't matter if you can still play at a high level. I want you. I want you. Yeah, he said Levante is in the $9 million market. Yeah, you might take even less to play on another championship team. Tom Brady's gone. They're talking about starting Kyle Trask, right? So they might be in the middle of a rebuild. There's even speculation that Mike Evans might get traded at some point. So like there's a bunch of moving parts over there. I don't think he'll sign. I don't think he'll sign back. I think he'll want to go somewhere where he can play meaningful football again. It's hard. It's hard to go from playing for Tampa Bay when they're not very good to finally win a Super Bowl, being competitive every year, and then going back to not being able to compete. I don't think Levante David would want to do something like that. He seemed like a very competitive guy. He said Jermaine Pratt from Cincinnati. I got to check him out. I haven't watched a lot of tape or film on him. But, since you brought his name up, let's take a look at his numbers. So we're going to look at Jermaine Pratt real quick. It's going to be a little educational thing since he brought him up. Jermaine Pratt, 26 years old, 6'3". They have him listed at 249 pounds. He looks like he's a third-round pick from the 2019 draft. He played college football at NC State. So let me go to PFF, and then I'll go to Pro Football Reference. And I'm just going to take a look at his numbers, see how he graded out, see his total output. All right, so in the 2022 season, he had 60 solo tackles, 36 assisted tackles, two interceptions, and a forced fumble. Not bad at all. All right. So he graded out overall as an 80.6. As a run defender, he graded out as a 64.5. Pass rusher, he graded out as a 73.2. A coverage guy, he graded out as a 90.1. Good numbers, like good output for a linebacker, right? So let's take a look at his numbers in 2022. So 96 total tackles if you count the solos and the assists. He had one sack, four quarterback hurries. Like I said, he had a forced fumble. Let's see. He only had a missed percentage of 5.9, so he didn't have a bunch of missed tackles, and he had 32 stops. All right. He was targeted 42 times. He only allowed 29 receptions, did not allow a single touchdown. So, he sounds like a solid guy. I haven't watched tape on him. Like it's always better to look at the tape and see if the numbers match up, right? Because numbers without context, even me as a numbers guy, I always have to say this as a disclaimer. Numbers without context are not valuable, right? So, but just looking at the raw numbers by themselves, he seems like a very solid linebacker. All right, he says, I am going to butcher this man's name. Akarunkwu from the Texans has no market value and he can be productive. Okay. Is that exactly how you spell his name? As I'll pull him up too. Let's take a look at him. Is it Akabania Akarunkwu? Let's see. They have him listed as a DN. Is he a true linebacker or is he a pass rusher? Talk to me. Is he a true linebacker or a pass rusher? Okay. So let's take a look. Either way, we're gonna look at him. Yeah, they got him listed as linebacker and pass rusher. So I guess he can do both. So let's just see what he does. Let's see his PFF. Let's pull it up. And listen, we're gonna need pass rushers going forward too, because we're probably gonna lose Dante Fowler in free agency. He might have played his way out of Dallas, right? Because you can't sign back everybody. There's only 1 year left. Oh no, what's my boy's name? What's my boy's name? I hate when my mind go blank. 2022. Armstrong. Damn, my mind went completely blank. Yeah, Armstrong only has 1 more year left. On his contract. So it would make sense to bring in some more pass rushers. So even if he's not a traditional linebacker, I'm still gonna look into Buddy. So let's take a look. Booyah. Akabanya Akarunkwu. All right. Let's see. He had 31 tackles, six assists, 5 sacks, and one forced fumble. So see, 5 sacks will put him right around what Dante Fowler did for us, right? So we can get him for cheap. I would do that. All right. So let's see. He's 6'2", 253 pounds. Ran a 4.77. He was a former Oklahoma Sooner. He was drafted in 2018. All right. He has 11 sacks in his career, and honestly, he has improved as a pass rusher each and every season. Right. He went from 2 sacks, 1 sack, 3 sacks. This year is the most sacks he's ever had with 5. He has 25 hurries this year, which was the most in his career. 6 quarterbacks hits, which was the most in his career. And the 36 total tackles were the most in his career. So if you're projecting, right, if you're just projecting what he is doing, right, then you can see like he has an upward trend in his development. So and he's still young. He's only 27 years old. Give him. I don't think he'll be 28 anytime soon. Matter of fact, he won't be. He was. Yeah, yeah. Yes, he will. He'll be 28 in April. So we have a similar birthday. But that's cool. So yeah, I'll fool with him. Yes, yeah. Like D Law ain't got that much more time either. Yeah, D Law ain't got that much more time either. So like a pass rusher is valuable too. So you know what? Honestly, people talking about drafting. Yeah, he said sign B Wags. Yeah, bro, I signed B Wags in a heartbeat. Like, hey, you might be late to the show, but we already touched on that. Like the man made an All Pro team this year, right? There's not many opportunities you can sign an All Pro player for less than $10 million, and this is one of those opportunities. So if they hey listen, and they can poke their chest out about this signing, like they can say they did it their way. Like low cost contracts and building through the draft, what they're all about. This is going to be a low cost contract. If you get Bobby Wagner and you have a fire ass draft, then man, like you can put yourself in position for several years, to be competitive, right? Because we're just looking at a laundry list of smart things for the Dallas Cowboys to do this offseason, right? One of them would be to extend Dak Prescott so you can lower his cap hit. So extend Dak Prescott for 2 to 3 years, extra years. Keep him on the team for the next 4 or 5 years to keep your window for competing open, and lower this cap hit. Right. So that's the first smart thing to do. The next smart thing to do would be to not tag anybody, but if you want to keep Dalton Schultz, sign him to a long term deal so you can mitigate his cap hit. If you want to keep Tony Pollard, sign him to a long term deal so you can mitigate his cap hit, right? Same thing with Bobby Wagner. You want to add him, like, and we touched on that, Samuel, because like, bro, on paper, it can say $10 million a year. On paper, it can say $10 million a year, but he only made his cap hit this year was only like 2.5 million. Like, it could say annual money is not the same as the actual money you'll get. So like I don't mind giving B Wag 3 years, 30 million, because after he get his signing bonus and this and that, like the first 2 years on that contract is gonna be under $10 million. Like first year might be $5 million against the cap. So I sign him in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. So yeah. But hey, this is a very impromptu show. T Smooth, what's up with you, man? What's up with you, kinfolk? So hey, y'all been rocking with me for the last 49 minutes. So hey, this is y'all part of the show, man. What do y'all want to talk about going forward, man? So there anybody? It ain't gotta even be the position we were talking about. We really were talking about linebackers and stuff because it's Bobby Wagner news, right? So what position do y'all want to address in free agency? And I'm gonna break it up like this. What positions do y'all want to address in free agency, and then double down on what you want to address in the draft, right? So top free agent needs, then top draft needs. So free agent, you want to address safety. That what you're saying, Keystone? You want a different safety in free agency? All right, owner's son. We definitely need to upgrade from Stephen Jones. Yeah, retaining Donovan Wilson should be a priority if I'm being honest with you. Need Bobby bad, still playing at a high level. Yeah, Bishop. Yeah, like Bobby Wagner made an All Pro team this year, man. 140 tackles, 6 sacks, 2 interceptions. Didn't miss a single snap. Like you gotta want that. The fullback in the draft, Hunter Lupe, later rounds. You know what? If they actually use him, I'm down with it. I'm down with it. Yeah, it needs to be wide receiver and cornerback, and we definitely need another wide receiver. That's why I've done like 10 shows, and in all 10 shows, I've name dropped DJ Shark because listen, there's a way to do things and be smart about it, right? Like drafting somebody, said the Rampage. Yeah, we talked about that too, Bishop, because I said the Ron Payne would have been my first go to, but now that they're announcing that he's probably gonna get hit with the franchise tag, then I moved on to Bobby. I moved on to Bobby Wagner because there's nothing nobody can do to keep us from getting him. Like the Ron Payne, he probably is gonna get that franchise tag. So I want him though. He'll make life easier for everybody out there. He'll make life easier for Michael Parsons. He'll make life easier for Leighton Vander Esch if they were to bring him back. Really for all our linebackers. Okay, you'll be clearing space, eating up space. He can rush the passer. He can do all kinds of things. So like he can be a marquee player in our front seven. Odds of him actually making it to the open market though, from what they're reporting, is not very good. A kicker, man. I listen. Go out and get Bullock. Like the Titans just cut Bullock. He would be a better kicker than Brett Maher would be, and he has experience. He's kicked in playoff games before, so I'll take Bullock. Go out and get Bullock, and just call it a day. Because you don't need the best kicker in the world. You just need a kicker that ain't gonna miss extra points. I'd have Issy and KJ switch rooms. Yeah, you know what? That is DP. You might be on to something. You might be on to something. Because Izzy was a cornerback by trade in college, right? They moved him to safety once he got to the National Football League, and people don't give Izzy his love, but like he was the guy that was holding it down on that other side over there in South Carolina. J.C. Horn got all the love in the world for what he did, but Izzy was a dog too. Didn't we sign Trishan Kicker? He says, "Nah, KJ lacks awareness." That's probably why KJ need, and if he lacks awareness, he probably needs to be a safety, right? He's the last line of defense, but he also sees everything happening in front of him. Like it's easier to keep everything in front of you than it is to run with people, stop on a dime, turn. I don't think that KJ has the hips to play cornerback, right? But when you do look at the things that he does well, he's a good tackler. He's physical at the point of attack. He grades out well in run defense. That sounds more like a safety than it does a cornerback, right? When you talk about the things that KJ excels at. So it's not crazy to say that KJ might make a better safety than cornerback. But I also don't want to have him out there playing safety over these guys that have earned it, right? Malik Hooker has earned it, right? He has his issues, but Malik Hooker has played well enough to keep his job. Donovan Wilson has played well enough to be a priority in getting re-signed, right? He said we signed the kicker for now. He came in to try out last season. Eh, I have to see him kick. I have to see him kick because I'm all for improving every aspect of my team, right? Because we could be complacent and bring back Leighton Vander Esch, but why not go out and get the All-Pro and Bobby Wagner, right? They might cut Hooker. They might. He hasn't really given you what you wanted on the back end. He doesn't have the same speed that he has, that he had before his injuries. They said they should have. Yeah, like I wouldn't have let it came this far. But you know how the Dallas Cowboys do business. You know how the Dallas Cowboys do business. But yeah. But yo, man, I've been on here about 50 minutes now. I appreciate y'all for rocking with your boy, man. So please, everybody, like, share, subscribe to the page. I finally got up to. Didn't see we had a kicker, so we good. Then respect, fellas. But you know what? Same thing I said. Like I'm always down to upgrade the position, especially as a kicker. You can swap them out like draws. If we're being honest, unless you got one of the best kickers in the league, then you can always upgrade a kicker. So yeah, man, I appreciate y'all though for taking time out y'all evening to rock with your boy. I'm gonna try to go live later on, man. So just tune in, tap in. I appreciate y'all for the love, man. But I will be back. And y'all hold it down now.